Florida in the death of Beata Kowalski, killed herself, and the plaintiffs say it was because how the hospital, Johns Hopkins, and the staff treated her daughter and kept her from her daughter. Bob Hilla is here. He's a trial attorney, and Catherine Lizardo, also a trial attorney. Bob, I see the notes are piling up there, so let me ask you your thoughts on this particular witness. This is Uncle, Bob, Robert Rines. He found the body, obviously an integral part of the family, and that night, while they're just kicking around thinking that Beata is recovering from a migraine, he finds the body.
Well, and through his words, he's going to tell the whole story of an objective observer. Well, not really objective, but in this case, he checks all the boxes, too, by the way. Former police officer, former firefighter, a butcher, his wife's a nurse. And they even asked about, you've seen child abuse cases, so you have some familiarity with abusers. And we assume he's going to say that, at least from what he's already said, that this woman was nothing like an abuser that he's ever witnessed. So he's laying a lot of foundation here for damages at this point. What's the impact to the survivors from what happened here, both from the child's treatment, the separation from the mother, and the mother's death. And now he's giving context to Beata, who she was. She's not a person who would abuse her child. This is hogwash that's being claimed by the defense. And there's no other reasonable explanation that she killed herself because of what these people at least initiated.
Yeah, and he's a super likable dude, no doubt about it. Catherine, we know that the hospital had a duty to report. We get that, not a big deal, not an issue, and they're making a point, the plaintiff is that that's not the beef here. It's 87 days of not fixing the problem.
Exactly. The plaintiff will definitely focus on the fact that this case is not about whether or not Johns Hopkins correctly reported child abuse, because they do have the duty of being a mandatory reporter. What's interesting is that this family, the witness we just saw, the uncle and Beata, and also Jack, the husband, they're all mandatory reporters as well, being a nurse, a firefighter, and also a former law enforcement agent. They are a family aware of duty to report potential child abuse. So if I was a plaintiff, I would also point that out, that they knew that that could happen, and Johns Hopkins had the duty to do that. But that is not the point in this trial.
Yeah, that's not the end of their obligation. That's the problem. Okay, so one of the plaintiffs has taken the stand, Kyle Kowalski, the brother of Maya, the son of Jack and Beata. He took the stand. Let's go into court.
So, do you recall your sister getting sick? Do you remember that day that she got sick, or were you there?
I remember the day, but not. It's like a little bit of a blur for me, but I do remember certain stuff from that day. Let's
figure out now if Maya was about 9 when this happened. You would have been 7?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any memories of it?
I do have some memories of it, yes.
What do you recall that day?
I remember her cough that she had. It wasn't like a normal cough like that any other person would have. It was like a very deep, and it wasn't just a cough. It was her like crying and moaning and coughing all at the same time.
Be strong.
Now, Kyle, tell us about that. Do you recall that episode?
I don't recall that particular one, but I do remember certain episodes that were very similar to that one.
Is that the cough?
Yes, that's the cough.
And when did that cough start? Was this after the 2015 4th of July time period?
Yes, that's the first time I heard it, and then it progressed.
Okay. All right. And she had that for a long period of time?
Correct.
Now, after that point, then we're talking about the 4th of July when you first heard your sister get sick. Did you start having to go away a lot for treatments?
Yeah, she was always going away. I just assumed that they were just normal doctor appointments. I didn't really have a understanding on where she was going. But yeah, she was starting to go away a lot more.
And from your perspective, I know you were 7 or so, but was she continuing to not do well and or getting worse over this period?
Yeah, this whole like timeline of events, like starting from the 4th of July, it was all a decline from there in her progress, like her health.
Now, tell us about then after this period. She was in Mexico towards the very end of November, beginning of December. I think the evidence will show. And she went to Mexico. I want you to tell the jury about how she did after that, compared with what she was like before she went to Mexico.
Yeah, so after Maya got back from Mexico, she regained a lot of her strength, and also along with that, her happiness. And she was able to do stuff she was never able to do before. For example, Maya, like just even like unscrewing a water bottle cap would be very difficult for her. And then after the trip from Mexico, she regained strength back from all over her body, and she was able to do stuff that she hasn't been able to do since she was sick.
Okay. Well, let me show you then maybe an example of this. This is, okay, 12. This is trial exhibit 2530-006 in evidence. Move to publish.
You may.
Okay. Now, this is just about, 6 weeks after Mexico. What's significant there about Maya's feet?
They are a lot more straight than they were.
What were her feet like before she left?
They were turned in.
Like how? Like,
They were turned in quite an amount, yes.
all right. And did she have any choice in that? Is that something that she had any control over, or were they always like that?
No, she had no control over that. They were always like that.
All right. And so now in this photo here, where are you? You're in your pool or someplace else?
Yes, we were in our backyard pool.
Okay. And so how's she doing here? Is she doing better from what you recall her being before she had the long-term ketamine treatment?
Yes, Maya is most definitely doing better. She was never able to have that much motion with her hands up in the air like that, and she was never able to have her feet that straight.
Such an important witness. Bob Hill is here, Catherine Lizardo. Guys, Catherine, let me ask you, this kid, I feel sorry for him on so many levels. He's 7 at the time that his sister's first diagnosed and all of the drama begins, culminating with his mom's suicide. Tell me your thoughts on the importance of his testimony for this case in this jury. He is a plaintiff, too, asking for millions of dollars.
Well, the fact that he's a plaintiff as well makes and underscores his importance as a witness in presenting what kind of mother Beata was to him and her sister, and also what her sister were undergoing to. When he described that her sister in that picture used to have her feet as crooked, the reason for that is she was in extreme pain that would cause her feet to be in that condition. And we will see experts that will testify to that in that regard. I have to mention, though, that the timing of this trial is worth noting, that it's happening right now in September, which is the National Prevention of Suicide Month, to raise awareness about suicide, and that the crisis life hotline of 988 is being promoted so that people are aware of that.
That's good. That's good info. Let's take a quick break here. We'll come back. Cross-examination of this witness, delicate to say the least. We'll get into that when we come right back to Lone Crime.